This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Good afternoon. Good morning, actually, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you. And I know it's been a few days since I even been on. I didn't even get a chance to come on and talk about Donovan Mitchell and the whole trade debacle that went on. So here's my chance, ladies and gentlemen, to come on and talk about the fallout from the New York Knicks passing on Donovan Mitchell. They didn't lose him. They passed on him, in my opinion. We're going to go ahead and get into it. I got my man Tony Crow here. Tony, what's poppin' with you, my brother? How you feeling?
Peace, Sim. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. I'm feeling pretty good, you know. I'm not as upset as some Knicks fans. You know, I know a lot of Knicks fans are upset, but I'm pretty even kill right now. We'll get into it.
I'm actually disappointed, man. I'm disappointed. I wanted Donovan Mitchell on this team. It's no two ways about it. You know what I mean? I can't even, you know what? I was sitting there talking with my father, right? You know, I was getting ready to leave New York, come back home. Sitting and talking, we're having just a conversation. I don't even remember what we're having a conversation about, but it was beautiful outside. We were sitting, you know, amongst trees, dog running around. You know, it was a picture-perfect moment, you know? And then all of a sudden, my son is blowing me up, right? He's blowing me up. He called, and then he tried to get me on a little FaceTime thing. And I'm like, Dad, hold on a minute. Let me call him back. Find out what's going on, just in case, you know, there's some kind of an emergency, right? So then when I call him up, he's like, yo, Dad. No, actually, I seen the text. I checked my text, and I seen him say, he said, Donovan Mitchell was traded to the Cavs. I was like, what? So then I went on Twitter, started reading everything. I called him up. We talked about it. And I was just, you know, it ruined my moment. It ruined my moment. I was having a picture-perfect moment. It ruined my moment, man, because I wanted Donovan Mitchell. And I was going to say, Dad, let me go ahead and let me do this stream real quick. But I said, no, you know what? I'm not going to interrupt my moment with my father to do this stream. Forget all of that. I'll talk about it when I get a chance. You know, I was already going to leave. I'm not going to see him for another month and a half or whatever. So I said, you know, let me go ahead and just enjoy this moment. It ruined it a little bit, but I went ahead and enjoyed it. He didn't know. He doesn't know that it ruined it. He doesn't follow basketball like that. Not this intensely. Or intense, however you say it. So it didn't ruin it for him. So I went ahead and continued to have that moment. But man, I was disappointed. Really disappointed.
I was going to say, all of a sudden, the clouds got a little gloomy.
You did?
You know, blocked the sun a little bit. Changed the whole scenery.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was disappointed, man. Even after R.J. Barrett was signed on a good contract, we talk about it, right? 4 years, 107, good contract. Incentives for him to make 120. I think that's a great contract, to be honest with you. I never wanted R.J. Barrett to be in the deal. I was always in favor of giving more picks so that R.J. Barrett could stay with the New York Knicks and try to get this thing done. And I thought they could still get it done. some kind of way, I thought they could still get it done. But it seems as though, ladies and gentlemen, there was some past history between either Danny Ainge and Leon Rose or Brock Aller. And I'm saying this out of my thought process, not that I read it anywhere. But I do have a clip from Brian Windhorst, who was on the Alan Hahn show, or Barton Hahn, talking about some of the mudslinging that was maybe going on between the two organizations and some past history. And when I think of past history, I think of Brock Aller. And I'm not saying he did anything wrong, but maybe there was something, maybe he just knew something about some people in the organization and tried to use it as a way for the Knicks to have the upper hand or something like that. I'm not trying to spread rumors. Excuse me. I'm not trying to spread rumors. I'm just trying to decipher what Brian Windhorst said. And I'm going to play it in just a second so that you can hear exactly what he said. But either way, I guess it doesn't matter. I'm still disappointed that Donovan Mitchell is not a New York Knick. I thought that Donovan Mitchell was the type of talent that the Knicks needed on this team. And obviously, we end up without Donovan Mitchell. So, of course, you got to move forward. Think about what's next. So we're going to get into all of that. Tony, anything else you want to say before I let some of these other people in?
Nah, I was gonna say let the fellas in, and because I have a feeling. I mean, I know how Isaiah's stance was, and I know what Josh's stance was, but I'll give my take last.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get a chance to listen to some of these clips. I'll talk about some of the final offers that the New York Knicks made, and even some offers back in like July, things like that, and go on from there. Let's get Big Bubba in the building. Oh my goodness, we come in and he's eating. You deserve that. You deserve that. You deserve that. You hear what I just said. I'm pretty positive that he heard that I was going to let these guys in, and he had to get the last bite in. He just had to get the last bite in. Ridiculousness.
No, Sim, I deserve that one, Sim. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
I deserve that one.
Yeah, you had
man.
to take the last bite.
Sim, I'm not gonna lie to you. When you said you gonna let him in, I was like, all right, let me sneak this one last bite.
Yeah. Let me sneak this last bite or whatever I'm eating. Let me get this last bite.
Your beard, Isaiah. You got
crumbs in his beard.
No, wait, no, I don't.
See what I'm saying? Come on, man.
Where?
What's going on? What's going on? Josh, what's going on, man?
Morning, fellas. Morning. Wow. This news definitely came as a shock to me. I have mixed feelings about it a little bit, but I'll let us get into it fully before I expound on it. But good morning, anyway.
Yeah. I don't have mixed feelings. I wanted Donovan Mitchell on this team. You know what I mean? I understand where the Knicks were coming from. What's going on with that? I understand where the Knicks were coming from. I did look at what Cleveland traded to Utah. Cleveland was actually in a good position when you think about it, right? When you think about the players that they traded, only two of those guys played last year, right? Abaji is a rookie. Colin Sexton got hurt in the beginning of the season. So they literally traded Lauri Markkanen for Donovan Mitchell, when you think about it. Because they did what they did last year without Abaji or Colin Sexton even playing. Right? So they added Donovan Mitchell for Lauri Markkanen.
So you're speaking from the Cavs perspective.
Speaking from the Cavs perspective, right? And when you're looking from the Cavs perspective, I mean, they don't lose. Like the Knicks, if they traded R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin, whoever, they lose depth. The Cavs don't lose depth. That's what makes it a really, really good move for them, because they don't lose any depth whatsoever. So that makes it a good move for them. I still wanted Donovan Mitchell on the New York Knicks. I understand that we would have lost some depth, right? But I'm still big on you go get the talent and then you build your team, right? You got to have talent to win basketball games. And I'm not saying the Knicks don't have talent. I just don't think we have enough talent for this team to step into another stratosphere. Obviously, this isn't going to be the same team 3 years from now. Right? There's going to be more moves made, however they get made. But also, and I've said it a long time. I've been saying it. I've always felt like this front office was conservative. There's going to have to come a time where you can't be conservative, right? You got to swing the bat. You got to swing the bat. There's got to come a time when you swing and take your shot. But they didn't do it this time. We'll see what happens the next time. If and when the next time comes around. Go ahead, Tone.
No, I was gonna hold back, but I feel like I'm gonna forget some of my points, and it's kind of a good segue. Anyway, so earlier in the off season, I believe, or maybe late in the season, I had gave a point of saying, I love everything the front office has been doing. The only thing they haven't really done yet is take a chance. You know what I mean? They've been conservative in their moves. I want to see them take a risk. So, that being said, it would seem that I should be upset that they didn't take this shot, right? You know what I mean? Take this risk and figure it out. But I honestly, I'm not upset. I just want to point out two, differences in the Knicks and the Cavs and the Knicks and Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And this is another point that I had brought up earlier in off season. I said, if the front office believes that Donovan Mitchell is the piece that puts us in position to contend, then by all means, no matter what it takes, you go get him. If it takes 5 picks, if it takes 8 picks, whatever it takes, you go do that, right? Clearly, Minnesota was in a position where they felt getting Gobert puts them in that contention spot,
right?
Based off of where they were without him. You know what I mean? Granted, they got in the play-in, right? They lost or first round loss, whichever one it was. They felt like they was close, and he was that missing piece. They didn't take away from their core. They still have a full team after the trade. The same can be said with Cleveland in the sense of coming up. Like you said, 2 of those pieces weren't of value to what they did last year.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now they feel like they're getting a guy who kind of puts them over the top.
Yeah,
I believe a lot of us, all of us, we all agreed that getting Donovan Mitchell, there was still going to be moves that needed to be made, and we still would have to figure some things out. And we all agreed that he wasn't a perfect fit roster-wise. You know what I mean? We talked about the small backcourt. We talked about the defense. Somebody else is going to end up being out of position, whether it be Quentin Grimes if he was here playing the 3 or et cetera, et cetera. So I think we weren't in that position where making the move put us over the top, put us in that top echelon to contend immediately.
I agree with that. I'm gonna come down to it. I agree with that. It wasn't gonna put the Knicks in that to contend, no doubt about it. But I think it put the Knicks in that step before, because right now we're 2 or 3 steps away, right? I think it puts the Knicks in that step before. Now we got to figure out, okay, Now, what's the next move to get us so that we're top 4, top 3 in the Eastern Conference, right? So that we're contending. You know what I mean? And so we got to figure out now, where is, okay, well, now what's that step, right? We thought Donovan Mitchell was going to be that step that gets the Knicks to, when you read reports, the Knicks felt like Donovan Mitchell gets them to 47, 48 wins this season coming up. And then you got to figure out, okay, now how do we get to 55 wins and be in contention? That's where the Cavs were, right? Okay, we're in this area. Now he puts us in this area, but the Knicks got to get to the Cavs area. And now when you think about the Eastern Conference, right, the Cleveland Cavaliers widened the Knicks, there were talks like, okay, maybe we'll see what happens with the Cavs. Maybe they surprised teams last year, and teams will know what they're doing, this, that, and the third. So maybe the Knicks, the Cavs, whoever else is down there, maybe the Knicks will be somewhere along with those guys. Now the gap is widened, right? The thought would have been that, well, Donovan Mitchell at least puts the Knicks on par with the Cavs, maybe a little bit above. Now, the Cavs have a wider gap, and the Knicks shuffle down the board even a little bit more because of that wider gap with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Because now the Cleveland Cavaliers, who knows, maybe you would think should be top 6 at least, right? And maybe top 4 or 5, possibly. I mean, in the beginning of last year, they were playing that type of basketball, and then, the Knicks fighting for a 10th seed play-in or something like that, possibly. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm doing this show so we can spit it out. But after this, I'm not going to do any more shows on it. I'm going to focus on what we got to do moving forward with the team that we have. Because sword on the bridge, you're not getting them. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to get out my piece and then focus on the guys we got and what's going to happen for this upcoming season. I'm not even looking at, we'll talk about what's next, but, that's where I'm at with it. Go ahead, Isaiah.
Sim, Mr. Russell, the best birthday gift that I got, which my birthday was
a text from me.
First of all, I want
was
everybody
a text
to know.
from me.
Let me say how bad Sim is.
Was a text from me.
Sim is supposed to be my big brother, and all this. Listen. I ain't get a text from him. It took him a day and a half. My birthday was just the other day, man, and I expect that from Josh because Josh just don't like me, but no, I'm playing. But Sim, that kind of hurt, man. But it's all right. I forgave you, man.
It was a text from me. That was his best gift. Anyway, go ahead, man.
No, so look, it is kind of funny though. I did what happened. The news dropped Friday. Literally on my birthday, and it was just like, I'm not gonna lie, I was happy because everybody knows how I felt about the whole Donovan Mitchell thing. But once you start looking into what the details and everything like that, I think Danny Ainge is a very petty man. I think he was trying to rob and just absolutely kill the Knicks for everything that they got for Donovan Mitchell. And it wasn't worth it. And I'm proud of Leon Rose. This isn't the same LOL Knicks. I'm proud of Leon Rose sticking with his guts and knowing that giving up your whole future for Donovan Mitchell was just a bad idea, because from what he got from the Cavs versus what we were good at, what he wanted from us, no, there's no comparison.
Actually, I'm not sure that's the entire truth, because early in negotiations, what's out there is that the Knicks offered R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Obi Toppin, and 3 unprotected first-round picks. That was earlier in negotiations, and the Cleveland Cavaliers turned that down. I mean, the Utah Jazz turned that down because they wanted to try to get more. Listen to that. R.J. Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Obi Toppin, and 3 unprotected first-round picks.
That's ridiculous.
That's what the New York Knicks offered early in negotiation.
But to Isaiah's credit, Utah wanted more. Utah turned that down.
Yeah, Utah turned that down.
So to his credit, he was trying to rob us. You know what I mean? Because even in that deal that you mentioned, Sim, I wouldn't have been happy with that at all. I don't think you would have been happy with that.
That would have been a lot.
None of us would have been a lot. I'm sorry, none of us would have been happy with that trade because again, RJ, Mitchell, Obi, and 3 unprotected first round picks.
But that's what Leon Rose offered. That's what the Knicks offered. In July.
And that was horrible. That's terrible.
I mean, but you said you're proud of Leon Rose for not.
I mean, okay.
But that was an offer that he put out there.
Well, thank God Danny ain't to decline that because I mean to me that just helped our future because again, boom, if it's not Donovan Mitchell, look, and we're like saying when every year now there's a superstar that wants out. Every year now. It hasn't been a year yet where a superstar hasn't moved. And and to me, look, if Donovan Mitchell wants to be here in 2 years, he could come here in 2 years if he wants to be here. He has that free. He will be a free agent. Is it 3 or 2?
It's 3 years.
3 years? Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, but hey, he could force some way out of there in 2 years if he doesn't want to be there. Look,
I'm not banking my plans.
I'm not banking on that.
Or negotiations on which person is going to be out or that someone's going to force a trade. I can't bank my plans on that.
But Sam, to tell you, I'm not going to say it, Sam. I'm not going to lie. I'm happy because I've said this before. I like our squad. I think this squad can actually surprise a lot of people. I think this team, to me, is a lot balanced. I feel like on paper, because everybody's on paper right now, we have one of the best benches in the league. I think that's going to take us a long way. And I think our starting 5 could be pretty good. We're going to have, to me, once we, hopefully we move Evan Fournier out of that starting 5 and put Quentin Grimes in that starting 2.
Well, let me tell you something. With the way that Quentin Grimes was coveted by the Jazz and the Knicks were like, we don't want to move this guy and so on and so forth. He better be something. He better be something.
No, I'm not lying.
He better be something.
He should
I'll be pissed off if he ends up being Danny Green. Now, with the way that they were treating him, he better be better than Danny Green.
He got the potential to be. But no.
Nah, F that potential to be. He better be better than Danny Green with the, No, I'm not going to put him in the, yeah.
No, but Sim, I think, again, right, I think that was Danny Green. I think Danny Ainge was just trying to rob the Knicks of everything. He was trying to get the most out of Josh. I mean, come on, Josh. Look what the Knicks offered. And look what
I'm gonna let you finish before I go. Go ahead, finish up. I got you.
Yeah, no, but it's to me. I'm glad, Sim. I like our team. I think this team. I said it before. I'm gonna keep saying it. This team can win 45 to 48 games this season. Well, listen, we won 37, and every worst possibility came out of last season, and we still won 37 games.
Listen, I'm not mad.
I'm with it.
I'm not mad at this basketball team. I agree that it's a balanced basketball team. Maybe the best fitting team that we've seen in this organization for a while. I just don't think this team has enough talent to become a 50-plus win team. I don't think this team has that kind of talent, my opinion. Now, could they come in and the chemistry be good and those type of things work for them? Yes, that could happen. I just don't think they have that kind of talent. But I'm not mad at this basketball team. Right? I'm not. And I've said it before. I'll say it now. I'm not mad. I think Jalen Brunson adds a lot to this team. Right? And it's going to add some wins to this team. I think the Knicks can be a 43-win team. This team right here. So, go ahead, Josh.
Hey, real quick, before you go, Josh, Sim, can you hit Isaiah's theme music for me? Because
he's eating.
I know, because because I actually agree with him like a lot. I think we're kind of on the same page with this. So I'm gonna take the theme music because it's bothering me. I'm like, man, I really agree with Isaiah right now. like 100%.
Tony, man. Tony, listen, it is okay to go against Sim. Don't let that pepper beer scare you.
What you mean? Well,
Don't let Sim fear-tastic scare you. You could come on this side.
He's trust me, we've been in disagreements on the phone and not even talking on the show. So what you talk about?
It's all right. It's all right.
You the only one that gets that theme music. Go ahead, Josh.
So I have a very mixed opinion about this because I just like Sim, I wanted Donovan Mitchell, and I think the Knicks had the assets to be able to get it done. Ultimately, what I think it came down to is draft picks, and not quantity of draft picks, but the quality of the draft picks. And I also think the timeline matters in this whole thing. I don't agree with the whole thing that Danny Ainge tried to get more from the Knicks than he was going to get from anybody else, and he somehow took the lesser deal. Cleveland had the better deal on the table, and it's because of the quality of their draft picks. Early on, back in July, the reason why I think that they turned down the 3 unprotected first-round picks from the Knicks is because they just came off the Rudy Gobert trade where they were able to get 5 unprotected first-round picks. So they said, okay, no, we're not going to accept that right now. We're going to, look at the market and see what's out there in the market. And, ultimately when the market dried up, that's when the Knicks became contenders and the Knicks were negotiating from a position of strength. Nothing wrong with that from a Utah side or the Knicks side, right? But when you say that Danny Ainge has tried to fleece the Knicks and everything like that, he got exactly what he wanted from Utah. That's exactly what from Cleveland. 3 unprotected first-round picks. And the Knicks were unwilling to fulfill that request. I don't think it had anything to do with what the players were in this particular deal. As much as the Knicks fans and us here value RJ, IQ, Obi, Leon Rose dangled them out in the trades the whole entire time.
Oh.
So to me, it wasn't even about the players because the players, which is salary fillers, making the money work. I don't agree that it was a sliding scale that if you put RJ in the deal, then you have to come down off of some picks. No, I just don't think the Knicks didn't want to offer 3 unprotected first-round picks in the end. I think that's what it came down to, not the players.
I heard people say, how much do the Knicks value their players if they dangle them in trades and this and that? I mean, you got to give something to get something. So,
of course,
if you're going to trade for someone of Donovan Mitchell's caliber, you're going to have to make trades. I don't think that means that they don't value the players.
I'm saying they don't value the players as much as the fans do. Like the fans, we were talking about having this sliding scale. If you put RJ in there, you're going to take some picks off the table. To me, I think for Utah's sake,
obviously the Knicks did because obviously the Knicks did value him that way.
For one side,
right? The Knicks did value him that way because when you look at it, if they were not going to include RJ, they were going to include 3 unprotected picks.
I don't agree with. That's not what the report said. The report said the Knicks didn't want to include 3 unprotected first-round picks anyway. They weren't going to do it no matter what.
Ian Begley reported that the Knicks had multiple offers on the table that included RJ and that did not include RJ. The ones that did not include RJ had 3 unprotected picks. The ones that included RJ had 2 unprotected picks and 1 pick that was top 5 protected, probably the Milwaukee pick. The Utah Jazz wanted that 3rd pick to be unprotected, and they were like, no, we're not going to unprotect that pick.
Well, that's what I just said. The Knicks were unwilling to.
But you're not hearing what I'm saying because you're saying that RJ Barrett didn't make it a sliding scale where if you add RJ Barrett, it's going to be less picks. But it did. If the Knicks weren't going to add RJ Barrett, they were willing to do 3 unprotected picks without adding RJ Barrett. But by adding RJ Barrett, they were like, no, we'll do 2 and 1 pick with a top 5 protection. So I think they were willing to do that, but not if they included RJ Barrett. It's you can go read it.
I got you.
I'm not making it up. You can go read it.
I got you.
So I think they were. I don't think that the Knicks people always say, people say it a lot, I mean, I know fans are fanatics, so they value their young players. And a lot of times fans do say, well, we think this guy's worth this, that, and the third. And teams, they've been scouting players. They see guys play. They've been watching them since high school into college, so on and so forth. They know what guys are worth. But I don't think that the Knicks don't value their players.
I'm just saying I don't think they value them as much as the fans do. That's what I was trying to say. I didn't say that they didn't value them at all. That's what I was trying to say. But I think ultimately it came down to the draft picks. I think and because of their willingness to trade RJ Barrett and trade some of these young players, that shows you that the Knicks were willing to let these guys go to bring in Donovan Mitchell. I think the cutoff point was the draft picks. And I think Utah all along wanted draft picks. And because the Knicks were unwilling to trade draft picks and some of their offers, I think that's what Knicks the deal. And I believe the Knicks acted in good faith. They acted in good faith, and that they put their best foot forward to try to get Donovan Mitchell on the table. But ultimately, they didn't get it done. And it's no fault of their own. I think Danny Ainge knew what he wanted the whole entire time. It's just business, and it didn't happen.
Well, and I think the Knicks knew what they were willing to, where they were willing to go. And I can respect that. I can respect that. They're inside, right? They're inside, and they know what they need to do to, at least we hope that they know what they need to do to get better. They said, this is where we're going to go with it. And that was that. I can respect that. That's negotiating.
But Sam, also, I disagree with Josh a bit because to me, it's not about Leon Rose not valuing RJ the way we value. I think they value him very highly. I mean, clearly, if you looked at Alan Hahn, literally, who works with the Knicks, he had like a 10-minute video of him explaining the whole situation was going down, and he was basically saying that no, RJ is their guy. They love RJ here. RJ's a great person, and this when it comes down to business. Because at the end of the day, you trying to get Donovan Mitchell. Now, I wouldn't agree with the way they did it with RJ because I would have wanted to pair RJ with Spider, but they felt that was the best thing to go get him. But again, I don't think that it's just business. You can value.
That's exactly, Isaiah, you say you disagree with me, but that's exactly what I said. It's business. And I said Leon Rose doesn't value RJ as much as us, the fans, do. You just literally said exactly the same thing that I said. I'm not saying that Leon Rose does not value him, that the Knicks front office does not value him. Of course they value him, right? I just think ultimately they don't have this whole obsession with we got to keep RJ at all costs type of mentality like some of the fans have. And it showed in the deal. Early on, as what Woj reported, back in July, the Knicks put RJ on the table with the 3 first-round picks, unprotected first-round picks. So, maybe there's some conflicting in reporting there. I don't know who you want to believe. I just think regardless, it came down to business and the Knicks' lack of quality draft picks that Utah was able to get from Cleveland. Not to mention, Cleveland owns Utah owns the Cleveland's draft picks 3 years after Mitchell's deal's done. 3 years. That's a huge thing, and they got to be able to try to keep Donovan Mitchell in town once his contract is done, or else they're what I mean. So that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of conflicted on that. They would be able to do that.
I'll just say this. We were not going to beat the Cleveland deal without including RJ. I'll just say that. There's no way we beat that deal without including RJ.
That might be true.
And to me, again, right, and to me, honestly, again, we won't know. But does Donovan Mitchell want to go to Cleveland? From what we all seen, now not really. Probably he wanted to go to New York, to be honest. So
and listen, Steph Curry didn't want to go to Golden State. He wanted to go to the Knicks too. He got to Golden State. It got good. There you go. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, and that might have been what the Knicks were kind of thinking they were using as leverage. You know what I mean? Like, because for the most part, I'll say at least 80% of the time when the Stars traded as of recently, the last 5-7 years, they go where they want to go.
Where they want, right?
You know what I mean? And the Knicks may have been thinking that was a point of leverage that they could use in negotiating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but also I think too, and hey, look, man, we could be in a situation how the Kawhi Leonard situation is. down the line. Personally.
Yeah, I mean,
And I know.
we got a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas. You know what I'm saying? We could be, we should be, but we're not. We're not. You know what I mean? We're not. So, I mean, the only thing we can say now is, we have capital to make another move, but
Yes.
the capital starts to dry up. Right? In 2023, the Knicks they're gonna use one of their draft picks, possibly 2 of their draft picks, maybe even 3 or 4, depending on where people land in the Eastern Conference. But they're gonna use theirs. There's a good chance that they get the Dallas pick. All of a sudden, now you're down to 9 first-round draft picks, unless the Knicks are able to, make another move and convert some of the draft picks that they have to other draft picks. But that draft capital starts to dry up. And then soon it's like, okay, we had all this draft capital. Now what do we do with it?
But I disagree with you there too, Sim, because look, right?
So the Knicks won't draft him?
No. Draft capital can draft capital can dry up because, of course, every year you got to go through the draft. But what about our player capital? What if Obi hits? What if Obi continues to get better? What if Quentin Grimes continues to get better? What if Quickly becomes better?
What if? That's a what if again.
No, these are what ifs. But I'm saying
that's what ifs. But the draft capital drying up, that's not a what if. That's a fact. That's a fact.
I mean,
right?
To me, draft capital doesn't dry up until the day of the draft. And honestly, to be real.
But what I'm saying is the 2023 picks that you have, now, some of them could be moved to 2024 if they don't convey, et cetera, right? You probably feel like Dallas is going to convey and the Knicks are going to have their own, right? So you're either going to, that's next June. So either you're going to trade them by next June or you're going to draft them and then trade the player.
Yeah, you could do it.
Right.
But that's the thing. You could do that too, right?
Right. You could do that, but you're not going to do it just for anybody. You're going to do it for a player that's going to, have an impact on your team. Who is that guy?
Or we do what we did this year and package them and pick up some first round picks moving forward.
That could happen.
Which doubles up our assets. And I would not, matter of fact, I would be inclined to bet that that's what we do, depending on how good of a season we have and where we're positioned in the draft. We've seen it with this front office. They are probably the savviest I've seen in this organization as far as maneuvering with draft picks, whether it's moving down, whether it's moving out, whether it's doubling up. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not even worried about having all these picks and then them conveying into, players in those particular drafts. They could be moved and flipped down the line into more assets.
Tony, but the thing is, the Knicks, I agree with you. They're savvy on draft night. They can be able to acquire more assets. But what if the whole purpose of you acquiring these assets and you're not going to draft them, you want to use them in particular trades, and then when it's time for you to make a trade, you don't do it? What's the point? And I think that's where I am with it. Like, I understand, and I think you're absolutely correct. They are savvy on draft night. They are able to acquire more assets. But, I mean, you just had an opportunity to use some of those assets, and you didn't do it to get the guy that you wanted. And that's where I'm kind of confused about the whole thing.
But Josh, though,
see, I agree with that.
But you wouldn't have. But Josh, you wouldn't have been happy if Leon Rose would have did his first initial deal back in June. You would not be happy. I guarantee you would not be happy.
I wouldn't. I'll say that. I don't know what Josh would feel.
I would, because I want Donovan Mitchell. I wanted Donovan Mitchell.
Josh, you wouldn't be happy because you want to know you wouldn't be happy.
How you gonna tell him he wouldn't be happy?
Because I can tell him that, Sim. I can tell. No, I'm joking. No, but Josh, look what would have happened, Josh. You would have gave up players. You could have key players. You would have gave up unprotected picks for Donovan Mitchell. And listen, I like Donovan Mitchell. He is a top 20 player. I will give you that. But Lord have mercy, he's not worth what we would have gave up in June to get him. And then we would have been people can say we're mediocre now, which, okay, that's fine. But I like this team is more balanced. But we would have been way mediocre we would have had Donovan Mitchell, but we'd have been having no assets, no young players to trade to get the next player. So we would have been stuck.
No young players? No young players? Are you kidding me? What do you mean no young players? Grimes, we still would have had Grimes. We still would have had Quickly. You still have Cam Reddish that I think they're going to do a sign and trade for either during the season or towards the end of the season. And you still got the other protected picks that you have.
Cam values.
So what do you mean?
Cam value right now isn't that high.
Right now,
I agree. Quickly has good value, but you're literally losing R.J. Mitchell, one of the young best centers in the league. You're losing R.J., one of the best young shooting guards in the league. You're losing these players, and you're losing picks. So tell me what other superstar that you would have got from what we would have remained with after we traded Donovan Mitchell? Tell me.
Hey, guess what? You just said it yourself a few minutes ago that a superstar becomes available every year.
But
you just said that yourself.
No. But tell me what we would have had to trade for that player.
I just told you we still have young players and we still have other assets. And like Tony said, we have the ability. The front office is savvy enough to be able to acquire more assets. That's what I'm saying. And again, regardless, I think this is not about the way I feel versus the way you feel. It's about what the front office felt. That's the reason why they put those assets on the table. It's not about me and you. It's about the front office.
Just tell me the players that with what we would have had left, we could have got after the Donovan Mitchell trade. Tell me, bro.
We don't even know which players. Tell me which players are going to be disgruntled.
Exactly.
Available.
Tell me which players are going to be available. You keep saying, well, the next one, who? Tell me who.
But Sim, you know
No. But I mean, you just asked him to say which players, who you're going to trade. Which players?
You want me to say some players?
Yeah, who's going to be disgruntled?
You could have Embiid if they keep losing. You could have Embiid, which is I love it. I'm naming. I'm giving you names. We can have Embiid. We can have Jaylen Brown after this situation with him getting almost traded for Kevin Durant. You have that. You have Kyrie Irving, which I mean I don't want Kyrie Irving, but
so in that case, RJ can be disgruntled in a few years because they just try to trade him, right?
That's true.
Right.
It's true.
I mean, you know, you can say this about any player in the league that they could become disgruntled, but legitimately, who? Legitimately.
I just said the name.
But I mean, you said Jalen.
I gave you three names.
Check it out. You said Jaylen Brown. They just went to the NBA championship.
And he was the best player, and they almost traded him.
He was in. I mean, R.J. Barrett was almost traded. Players expect that.
Okay, but I'm just telling you.
It's not like they tried to trade Jaylen Brown for some bum. It was Kevin Durant.
But you can still feel some type of way.
But what I'm saying, players get it and they expect it. I'm not saying they might not feel some kind of way. They could, but you can say that about RJ. Well, RJ might come into camp feeling mad at the Knicks for trying to trade him. You can say that about RJ too.
Of course, but
right?
Sim,
but hold up. But what I'm saying though, I don't think Jaylen Brown is a legitimate guy that's going to be disgruntled.
You think?
I don't think he is. They just went to the NBA championship. He got Jason Tatum there by his side. They're going to be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Right? Kyrie is always disgruntled, but I don't want Kyrie Irving.
Nobody wants Kyrie Irving.
Okay? I mean, he's a wonderful basketball player, great talent, but, you know, I just don't want to bring that. You know everything that comes with Kyrie. All right? Joel Embiid, I mean.
That's a possibility. Don't sit there and say that's not a possibility.
I don't know.
See, no. When I gave y'all names,
I don't think that's a possible. I think Joel Embiid is going to be in Philadelphia. I'm just telling you because I don't see a pathway right now of. I mean, obviously it does happen. Guys get mad, but when I'm looking at teams right now, I'm not seeing where there's someone that you could say this guy may really want out. Thought that about.
But we do that every year.
Damian Lillard? No. I mean, usually you can name a guy. Donovan Mitchell was a guy that people could legitimately name because there were already rumblings that he was having problems. You know, there was issues going on. Damian Lillard was a guy that people thought I wouldn't touch him right now. Not with him going to be making $62 million in a season. I'm not messing with that. I just don't see what it is.
I agree with you. I think every year someone becomes available. You just can't specifically name who it is, and that's fine. My whole thing is the Knicks. No. I agree with you. I think every year is always going to be someone. I can't particularly name who those people are. Neither can you. You're going to try, but you really can't. Ultimately, what it comes down to is that the fact that the front office can be able to acquire assets, like Tony said, but you have to be willing to deal them.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to deal them. And I think the Knicks put their best foot forward. I just think in the end, Cleveland had the best offer.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
It's crazy.
Again, I think Danny. I'll be honest with you, George. I don't think they had the best offer. I think Danny Ainge just again wanted to absolutely rob the Knicks and do one of his famous Danny Ainge trades. What he wanted was the Boston Celtics and Brooklyn Nets 2.0 with Donovan Mitchell. That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, if you think that 2 unprotected first round picks is better than 3 unprotected first round picks plus someone who was recently drafted, I think that if that's what you believe, you can stick with that story, my brother.
RJ Barrett is better than that 1 unprotected first round pick. Sorry, I'll give RJ some credit.
So the final offer that the Knicks made, and they didn't get a chance to make another offer because Utah took the Cleveland trade. The final offer the Knicks made was RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, 2 unprotected first round picks. All right, but Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz wanted more. This is through Shams. All right, and obviously Cleveland came in with 3 unprotected first round picks and pick swaps and those type of things. All right, so that's where the Knicks are there, right? That was their last offer that they were able to make. Who knows if they would have included more if they came back to the table and said, hey, this is what Cleveland is offering. Who knows if the Knicks would have included more or not, right? Because it seems as though they were operating like nobody else, was going to be able to match their offer, right? It seems like they were operating from that standpoint. So who knows if they would have came back and said, okay, we'll include this now. We'll never know. What are you going to say, Tone?
I was just going to say that could have been some of the animosity between the clubs too. Like, you know what? I'm not going to even give you a chance to counter offer. You know what I mean? Just saying this is what we got and things of that nature. Or I mean, like I said, ultimately, I'm pretty even keel on it. I'm not upset. I wanted Donovan, but obviously they felt like what they had to give up would have been too much. And you know what I mean? That's their job. You know what I mean? It's my job to just be a fan, I guess, and support who we got.
Let me get to the super chat real quick. Quentin Gilliam, thank you for the super chat. He said, I've been saying New York Knicks front office's Hershey Kiss since I was in high school 25 years ago. It's a different front office from 25 years ago, though, bro.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
Right? He said, but I actually think they have calculated risk versus reward, past, and they have a backup plan. I hope so. I do. I hope so. I hope they have a backup plan. I think me personally, I think their backup plan is let's see what this team does and then figure out how we get better from there. I think that's what their plan is right now, my opinion. Ayub Matan said, how are Cavs better than us right now? We both have 3, 4, and 19. Not exactly sure what you mean by that, 3, 4, and 19. But they were better than us before the Donovan Mitchell trade. So they're better than us with the Donovan Mitchell trade, especially since they did not trade depth. Right? Now, I do want to get into just like some of the details of the negotiations. Brian Windhorst was on the Barton Hahn show, and he said a few things about how the Knicks and Jazz were negotiating, right? And he talked about mudslinging and history that kind of got involved during the negotiations. I want you guys to take a listen. Tell me what you think.
I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I have to protect certain confidences,
Understood.
but there were people on both sides that, there was some mud slung at each other and some sensitivities and some past history that was involved. And this was such an important deal for the Jazz and such a potentially important deal for the Knicks that this negotiation was just very delicate. And there's so many different people involved in this. And so I wish I could just say more, but there were times over the last couple of weeks where I kind of just rolled my eyes at stuff that I heard that was going on and said, okay, that's how it's going to be.
Now, that sounds like there's some history, obviously, between the Knicks front office and the Jazz front office. The fact that Walt Perrin is with the New York Knicks and used to be with the Utah Jazz. So there's going to be history there, right? I don't know what else. Maybe it was just so tense, and the negotiations were so tough that who knows, whatever was going on. I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Just what you heard Brian Windhorst say.
It's tough because it's very vague, and like all we can do is speculate. I definitely think that relationship with Brock probably makes the most sense as far as him having some insight on what they like, where they like to negotiate from, him having some insight of maybe where they look at things financially. He may not have there may have been things that he suggested while he was there that he kind of had to push to convince them to, or he tried to convince them and they were looking at it from a different angle. So I mean, that makes the most sense as far as the history wise. I mean, you got Johnny Bryant, but I don't know how much that would have an effect on the negotiations. But also, I believe the leverage that they thought they had with everybody believing Donovan wanted to be in New York. So that might have been some of the behind the scenes things that made it a little bit more difficult, because again, if the Knicks feel that way and they feeling like we're using this as a leverage point, that could cause some animosity.
I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I have to.
Sorry about that.
No, you good.
Go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
No, I was just saying, if the Knicks think Donovan Mitchell wants to be here and they're trying to use that as leverage, that could have been another, part where they were bumping heads with, because the Knicks have that kind of in their back pocket, and Utah's like, hey, we don't care where he wants to go. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna do what's best for us.
Right.
Hence,
right.
Why maybe they don't come back with a opportunity to counter offer.
Yeah, Josh. Any thoughts on what you heard from Windhorst?
Yeah, the whole thing about the mudslinging and everything like that, maybe there is something behind the scenes that's going on. But ultimately, what I will say, it just comes down to business. And I understand that in business, things can get kind of chippy, or, some of the personal feelings between some of the parties may have something to do with it. But I think ultimately it comes down to business. And I just don't like or don't think that there's the narrative of Utah doing what they can just to screw the Knicks because of the Knicks. I don't believe that exists, right? I do believe that some of the personal feelings and animosities may be there, but I don't think that the Knicks didn't get this deal done because, Utah took the lesser deal, or took the deal, because they, took Cleveland's deal because they're dealing with the Knicks. I just don't believe that's what it is. I'm not saying that's what Brian Windhorst is getting at, but I think ultimately it comes down to business at the end of the day, and whatever personal feelings and animosities, that shouldn't be there. And I don't know whether it's coming from Utah's side, our side, but that should not be there when you're talking about business.
But Josh, it's only two reasons why they would not come back to the Knicks and say, "Hey, this is the offer we got for Cleveland. We'll give you one more opportunity." it's either one, they feel like there was nothing the Knicks could have offered that would be better than the Cleveland deal, or it's out of spite. That, like, those are the only two reasons why you don't go back and try to renegotiate one last time.
Well, no, I don't think that was the only reason. Mind you, the Knicks gave them a deadline because of R.J. Barrett's contract. They already came down to R.J. Barrett's contract and agreed to that. So it's less of an incentive for Cleveland, for Utah to take New York's deal because of the poison pill. So it's not just about out of spite or out of the fact that, Cleveland had the best deal. It's the fact that the Knicks actually had the poison pill contract of R.J. Barrett. That was the final offer that the Knicks had on the table before they went to Cleveland. I think for the longest time, the Knicks thought they were operating as the singular other party in this deal. And when Cleveland came along, that gave Utah, more options on the table. Like if you go to a dealership and you see a Honda sitting there with the perfect car that you want and it costs a price, but another dealership comes out of nowhere saying, we'll have the same car and it costs less money, you're going to go with the dealership that has the car for less money. I think that's what it comes down to. That's just business.
Agree, but that doesn't negate what I just said. There's only two reasons why they're not going to go back to the Knicks. Either they felt like there's nothing the Knicks could offer that would top the Cavs deal, or at that point, they're like, you know what? Screw y'all. You guys are out the running. And that's it. And to your car dealership point, I mean, the value of the car really depends on the buyer. So it don't matter what the price of the car is, because if I really want that car, then I'm not worried about the price of it. I'm just going to go get it. Where somebody else, is going to say, I like that car, but I'm not paying that much for it. You know what I mean? I'm a pass. So it's not about going for the cheaper deal. It's really about the Knicks being the buyer saying, I like that car, but I'm not paying that much for it. And I think that's what they did.
Yeah,
They said, I'm not paying that much for it.
Yeah, I think somewhere along the line, I don't think it was, this is the Knicks, we're not going to deal with the Knicks. I don't think it was
right.
that. But I think somewhere along the line, something personal somewhere got involved. I just can't see that it doesn't. Because although RJ had the poison pill, they were still willing to make a move for him. Right? It didn't totally put them out of contention. Why wouldn't they come back and say, all right, this is what they're willing to offer. Are you willing to offer more draft picks? Because if not, I'm going with this deal. Knowing that the Knicks have the draft picks. You know what I'm saying? So, and maybe it was just like, you know what? We've been through it with this team for months, and I'm tired of going through these negotiations. Let's just get this done. It could have been that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could have been that right there. Brian Windhorst also spoke about the R.J. Barrett deal and how he thinks it impacted the trade, and he actually kind of thinks the Knicks made a mistake in giving R.J. the deal. Not that it's a bad deal, but the timing of the deal, he felt like it was a mistake. Take a listen.
I think that's where the Knicks felt. Why should you get players and picks when we know that what you really want is picks? And I think the Knicks taking that position was reasonable. What I also think that the contract that they signed R.J. Barrett to on Monday was reasonable. That was by all things that we know today, that was a good contract for the Knicks. In fact, when people said R.J. Barrett couldn't be traded, I didn't believe that. I actually think R.J. Barrett is more valuable on that contract than he was before, because now I know I can get him and know what his salary is. I didn't think that was a deal breaker. What I didn't think was maybe the most prudent move was the Knicks signing R.J. Barrett in the middle of all of that as sort of, flicking the Jazz ear in the negotiation. It is not something I have seen before. Had the true deadline to sign players to a rookie extension been on Monday, then they would have done what they had to do. But the deadline isn't to October. They signed that deal, and it agitated the Jazz. And I like the deal. I like the signing, but I would have felt better about it if they just signed him to the deal today after they didn't get it done. Entering that into the negotiation by signing that deal, creating a false deadline and then doing that, I don't think helped things. And so I wouldn't say, without being in the thick of the negotiations and hearing what everybody said, I mean, I could only get so much information. I didn't think that was the greatest negotiating strategy, even if it did maybe give the Knicks some measure of upper hand in saying, well, if you're not going to do this, we're going to do that. And then the Jazz were like, fine, then we're not even going to call you back and try to get that third unprotected pick. That's what I mean when I kind of talk about third grade level stuff. I do think emotion entered into it a little bit at the end with the Knicks doing that deal and then the Jazz not even calling back, because ultimately the Knicks could have done the better offer, and I would have exhausted everything with the Knicks. And maybe the Jazz felt that way, but I'm not sure that that's really true.
Yeah, so.
And that sounds like exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, but Tony, I think that's more business than personal, though. To me, to me, that sounds like more business than personal. Because the poison pill thing is a disincentive for the Jazz. That's a disincentive for them. Why would they take that on?
And then to your credit, the Knicks reacted out of emotion as well. Right. I think so. I'm not saying it was the Jazz just being spiteful. Now we have a reason of why they're being spiteful. Oh, you're gonna do that? You're gonna make us have to take him on at $27 million instead of the valued contract that we would have had him at without the extension. All right, screw y'all. We're not even gonna come back to you with an offer. So I think it's business. Yes, it's always business because that's what they doing. But I think the Knicks made that reaction out of spite of the Jazz. Maybe something happened prior to that for them to say we're gonna go ahead and do this extension now. But to the Knicks' credit, they gave them the deadline then. They said, hey, before we do this extension, you have until this date, this time to make the trade happen, or we're doing the extension, and now you're gonna have to negotiate from a different perspective. You know what I mean? So it was business the whole time. It was business the whole time, but they did these tactics, and I mean, I guess you could say the Knicks messed up if you were like saying we had to get Donovan by all means, because that put a damper in the original negotiations. But again, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that part at all. Listen, I think the Knicks did the right thing by putting the deadline out there. As much as I wanted Donovan Mitchell, I think they did the absolute right thing. But I think we're saying the same thing. Listen, when you have humans, we're doing human emotion, doing a business deal. So obviously some of that stuff is going to come into play. I just don't think it helped things when the Knicks did what they did for RJ Barrett, even though I love the contract. I think the contract is phenomenal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, but I mean, at the end of the day, right, I think for the Knicks, because, you have everybody in this, besides, real Knicks fans, clowning the Knicks about why we didn't get him. But it's like, this was a situation of damn if you do, damned if you don't. If you got Donovan Mitchell, you would have had a top 20 player, but you would have you'd be a very gutted roster with no, to me, no real way of getting a true second superstar on the team with whatever I had left. Versus, you don't have them. You still have your assets. You still have your draft. You have your players. You have the capital. You have the assets. And to me, again, there'll always be a superstar available every season. I think the Knicks are in a great position. I really, really do.
Yeah. That's a little bit off topic, Isaiah. We were kind of talking about the beefing between the two teams.
Oh, that's what we're talking about. Oh, my boy.
I mean, come on, man.
Hey, man, I was dealing with a customer, man.
All right. We kind of been over what you already said.
Okay.
But maybe, I don't know. This hasn't been reported anywhere. I don't think I've read this anywhere. But when the Knicks made that offer back in July, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Obi Toppin, 3 unprotecteds, it had to be before Mitchell Robinson signed.
Right. It would have been a signing trade.
And maybe this was something that the Knicks kind of did. They made this offer. Utah said no. We signed Mitchell Robinson. Now that's off the table. We're taking an asset out of there. And maybe they felt like you just did it with Mitchell Robinson. Now you're doing it with R.J. Barrett. I don't think I don't like the way the negotiations are going in that manner. So maybe that was, something personal, not personal, but something that they didn't like the way that the Knicks negotiated in that manner. Because that's very possible.
Absolutely. But they gave them a fair chance to do the deal before they even did the deal with RJ. So even that is like both guys probably feel slighted. Like, hey, we gave you the best package. That first deal in July, I would have been tight, yo. I would have been tight, Sim. RJ, Mitchell Robinson, Obi, and 3 firsts. I would have been tight.
Also, not them, not the Knicks, not the front office.
I know. I mean, I would have lived with it. I'm a Knicks fan, but I would have been highly upset. But think about it. Like you said, now we taking one off the table. Whether maybe they gave them a heads up, maybe they didn't. But the RJ situation, they gave them the timeline. They said, hey, if you don't do it by this time, this is what we're doing. So it wasn't like they blindsided them. To me, that's a fair negotiation tactic.
Oh,
like
it is.
You know what I mean?
Fair.
Can I ask you a question? Wait, when did Rudy Gobert get traded?
Early July.
Early July. It was early July, really?
Yeah.
So my thing is again, right, is that
July 6th.
And Danny Ainge Danny Ainge has a history of this, of putting his personal feelings into trades. He has a history, man. Look at him and Pat Riley.
I don't know his history.
He does, man.
Maybe he's just shrewd. Maybe he's shrewd. And I do want to jump in. Someone said Brock Aller wasn't with Utah. I think we would talk about Walt Perrin. We may have said Brock Aller, but Walt Perrin, talking about Walt Perrin. I don't know how he's negotiated with other teams, so I can't speak on it. I can only speak on how the negotiations went with the Knicks. I'm pretty sure Danny Ainge and Leon Rose have had other negotiations in the past. And who knows how those went, but this is where it is.
Listen, at the end of the day,
Donovan Mitchell ain't a Knick.
This is Phil Jackson's fault. At the end of the day, if you want to go down to the nitty gritty of it, this is Phil Jackson's fault.
Okay. I guess.
It's Phil Jackson. That's the best way to explain it, man, when it comes down to it.
I guess. He's not a Knick, so the Knicks got to move forward. Tony, where does the front office go from here?
Well, first off, let me give a shameless plug and say Monday's Knicks and Bruises is going to be about potential Plan Bs.
Okay.
So if you're available, anybody's available, you guys are all welcome. I know Sim, you gave a quick what you thought the Plan B would be as far as just rocking with what we have. I have a few things that I want to talk about as well. Anybody not subscribed, go subscribe. I got about 38 more subscribers before I can monetize.
Let's get it. Go get those. Go get those.
Come on,
get them to 1,000, folks.
And I got I'm doing a giveaway. Once I hit that 1,000, me and Sim just went to a season ticket holders event. We met John Starks. I got a autographed Knicks shirt. You know what I mean? I got the picture of him signing it, authenticating it, and I'm gonna give it away to one of the subscribers once I hit 1,000.
That's
so
dope.
Tony, you got to slide that to me.
That's dope.
So yeah. And my apologies. What was the original question? I know it was a segue somehow.
What's next?
What's next?
What's next?
I think they do have a plan B or two on the table, or maybe they don't. But I have some potential Plan Bs as far as the trade market. But I'm not mad. I'm not mad if they rock with what they have. I said it about a week ago. I feel like the whole Donovan Mitchell trade market situation took away from the Jalen Brunson signing. I don't think we really even got to digest the Jalen Brunson signing
True.
and get into the nitty gritty of what it really means. I'm a firm believer of, Sim said it earlier, this is one of the most balanced team or the most balanced team roster that we've had probably since 2013. So I'm still optimistic in where this team can go this season. You know what I mean? Like, we have a legitimate point guard who is honestly still getting better, still surprising, I think, the rest of the league. I don't know if the rest of the league is truly put Jalen Brunson on the bulletin board yet. So I think maybe it starts from the beginning of the year. Maybe he still has a little wiggle room to make teams understand how good he really is. But I think the future's still good, still bright, and I'm just excited, man. I think there's a number of ways we could go, but even if no move is made, we gotta agree that we are a better team this year than last year, right? So let's see what they could do with who they have and with who we have.
Okay. All right. Josh?
For me, so Sim, to answer your question, I think the first plan B, I don't think the Knicks have a plan B. I think they were all in on the Donovan Mitchell thing. And now that it's not taking place, they just pretty much got to do with what they have, right? But some plan Bs that I would do, or at least one that I'm looking at immediately right now, is Evan Fournier. If you want to say that you're not including Quentin Grimes in any trades, that means I think he should be a starter. And I think at that logjam at the guard spot prevents Quickly from getting the amount of minutes that he should get from the fan base. Quentin Grimes, I think Derrick Rose, they got to find a way to move off his contract. But I think Evan Fournier, they got to find a way to move Evan Fournier and get him to a team, possibly a contender. I'm thinking the Lakers. I think he would be a good fit there if they can try to work that deal out. And if it means we get back Russell Westbrook, for a season, potentially buy him out or whatever the case may be, I think that might be a good option for the Knicks to take in that regard. But to Tony's point about, looking at seeing what the Knicks have, I think we are a better team from last season. I just don't think we're going to go anywhere. I don't think we're going to make the play-in. I think this team will finish under 500. That's just my prediction right now, looking at the roster right now.
Yeah. Okay. And see, for me, I value being a better team than the year before. Obviously, I value making the playoffs, but knowing the way that the East is, if the Knicks win 43 games and they don't make the playoffs, I'm not going to be torn down, mad, like, oh my gosh. But I'm going to want to know, all right, now how do we get to the next step?
Right.
We can't go 43 wins again next year and not make the playoffs. Now we got to go 48 and be in the playoffs, or whatever. How do we get there? You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be at 43 wins 3 years in a row. How do we get there? I'm all right this year, given that we didn't get Donovan Mitchell and we got this team. All right, we could take 43 wins or whatever, even 41 wins. I'm not going below 41 wins, so I won't be happy with that. To me, you don't sign Jalen Brunson, give Donovan Mitchell his contract. You got a new contract starting with Julius Randle. You got a new contract with Mitchell Robinson, and you get you're lower than 500. It's hard for me. I'll be upset with that. But if they get 41 or better, all right. Now how do we move forward? Go ahead, Isaiah. What do you think? How are the Knicks? What do the Knicks do next?
Win.
Whenever.
Win.
I think he's saying win, WIN.
Win, WHEN, or win, WIN? Which one are you saying?
WIN. Win. And I think
agree with that.
And I think the Knicks are going to do that this year. I totally disagree with Josh. I don't think we're going to end up below 500. Again, I'm thinking about the circumstances. Already good East last year. The Knicks won 37 games, and literally everything went wrong for the Knicks.
No, that's not true. Everything went wrong.
Tell me what went right.
They won 37 games, like you said.
But tell me what went right for the Knicks.
They won 37 games. They won some games.
Okay, we're not going to do that. We're not going to argue about that. But I will say everything went wrong for them, in my opinion, and most people's opinion except yours. Everything went wrong. Everything went wrong for the Knicks. Randall had a terrible season. Derrick Rose was out. RJ was good, but he was inefficient in the beginning, and then a little bit towards the second half of the season. Quickly regressed. Obi didn't get as much minutes as he should have had. I think Tom Thibodeau wasn't the best coach. Just all around general, the Knicks just weren't good last year. We still won 37 games. We gave up 6 games. We gave up 20+ point leads. Right there, if you don't give up those, you're 40. You're 43. You have 43 wins if you don't give up those 6 games of having 20+ point leads.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't give up those leads just over those ones. We're not even talking about the games we lost by a few points or games we lost like that. Again, we have Jalen Brunson. He's going to be looking at the most underrated, to me, one of the most underrated guards, which I'm totally fine with because we have him. I think RJ is going to be better. I think Julius Randle, I'm praying he's going to be better and his mental is good because to me, his mental, I'm not worried about that. Even him being bad mentally, he still had 20 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
Being bad mentally, he had 20 and 11. So being focused, I think this team will win. I'm going to keep saying it until we see the end of the season. 45 to 48 wins. I think that probably gets us either top 6 or right there at 7.
Ooh. Well, see, I agree with everything that you said, except for us being top 6 or top 7. Well, everything else, and maybe the win total.
Well, I'll say this, Sim, because here's the thing that we're not taking a factor in, and it can also happen to the Knicks, is injuries.
Well,
it can, Josh, you're rolling your eyes, but the Chicago Bulls were a number 1 seed before all their injuries, and they plummeted all the way to 6.
Right, I agree, but I can't base where I think the Knicks are going to be. I gotta base it on if everybody's healthy. Okay, you gotta base it on that if everybody's healthy, because injuries could happen any place, anytime. We know that, so you got to base it on if people are healthy.
And I don't want to put that. I don't want to put that in the air for us or anybody
else.
No, of
right?
course I don't want to. But I mean, it's a natural thing. I mean, Tony. But I will say this.
Let me say this real quick. Let me just say this real quick. Then I'll let you finish. I agree with everything that you said, right, about last year. The games that we lost, close games we lost, the 20-point leads that we lost. We could have had a much better win total. If Derrick Rose plays more than 25 games, I agree. Right? I think easily last year we could have been 500 or better. And so I do think Jalen Brunson is going to make that difference. But I also know that the East is better.
No,
and teams in the East got better. So I factor that into my win total. That's why I don't think we're at 47 or 48 wins. We're around 43 wins this year, give or take. Because while the Knicks, yes, got better, I think other teams got better as well. And it's going to keep the Knicks, in my opinion, down to about 43 wins.
So Isaiah, the reason why I gave my assessment of what I think the Knicks are going to do, and again, it's just projection. I'm just looking at it, like Sim said, the entire Eastern Conference. It's because the majority of the games that the Knicks are going to play are going to be teams in their own division. Majority of them. That's just a fact, right? And if you look at the division, the Knicks are projected right now to be the worst team in the division right now. And I keep throwing this stat out there. I'll do it again. Only one time in NBA history has all 5 teams from the same division made the playoffs and all of them be over 500. That's only happened one time in NBA history. 2 other times has happened, but the last team in the division was under 500, and that typically happens in a weaker conference. The East is better now, and the Knicks are not the worst team in their division. Not saying they're a bad team. Not saying they're a bad team. They're a good team. I just don't think they get in because the East is so deep.
But let's also acknowledge the Atlantic Division is probably the best division in the NBA, in the whole league.
Probably.
So let's acknowledge that as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're right, but that also I would think gives us the highest chance of this being the year that happens again, where the entire division gets in.
And also too, but I think again that we're missing is that, listen, we were saying this last year that the East was, and to me it is better. The East is better than the West, and the East was competitive last year, and we were doing good. And this is what Kimber with bad knees. We were doing good. Like, Josh, you laughing, but at one point we were 500.
You just asked me a minute ago, what did the Knicks do right last season? And you started off with something that the Knicks were doing right.
No, but we started off 5-1. We all know that. Then the Orlando Magic game, and then we were teetering around. But then again, Kimber knees fell out, and then again, Randall's attitude happened, a lot went wrong. Mostly everything went wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
But again, we still were in a lot of those games. Like to me, there wasn't really a lot of games where we could all agree there was not a lot of games where we said Knicks got blown out. There was not that. There was not many blowout games last year.
The Knicks were very competitive, and if they didn't go through that one stretch where they were like 3-17 or something like that, you know, the season looks very different because that was a bad stretch, and that was during that stretch where they had all those 20-point leads too, and they lost those games. That was a bad stretch for the Knicks, and they were the tough part is that they were competitive in all of those games during that stretch. They were competitive. And
with the exception of a few, but for the most part. With the
exception of a few, but they were playing decent basketball. They couldn't win the basketball games. We'll see how much Jalen Brunson changes that.
And to be honest, Sim, the only games that I can really remember that we were getting blown out were the Denver Nuggets game, which we just always get blown out by the Denver. We always get blown out by the Denver Nuggets. I'm trying to think of my top of my head. Denver Nuggets usually blow us out. We kind of struggle with the Cavs a couple games. I think we were dead even with Chicago. I think we won that series.
Toronto.
To me, we don't play Toronto that good. So there's not that many times last year where we was like, oh man, we just from start to finish we were crap. No, we were in these games. We were, man. And I think our talent is there. To me, our bench is gonna separate us a lot this season. I think from if we just do off the top of the head, if it's quickly Rose, Evan Fournier, OB and Hartenstein, that's a good starting five. If you want to interchange Cam Reddish in that, to me, that's even a better starting. That's a better second unit. I just think we're gonna win. I just think we're gonna win 45 to 48 games.
I mean, listen.
I don't think we're gonna be that good of an offensive team.
I hope that the Knicks, win that amount of games. I think we're gonna be better offensively than last year. I think we're gonna be way better than last year offensively. I think other teams are going to be better too. I think Jalen Brunson is going to make that much of a difference as far as his leadership is concerned. It may not show up in like he's averaging 25 points a game. I don't care about that. But I think his leadership is going to change a lot with the way that this team plays. Me personally, I want the Knicks right now. One, let's not make any shotgun moves or any moves out of desperation, and I don't think this front office will. Right? Let's not make any moves to just say, oh, well, we got something done. You got something done by bringing in Jalen Brunson. You tried to get Donovan Mitchell. You wanted Donovan Mitchell. You didn't. Now, my thought process is, as a collective unit, let's see what they can do as a collective unit and then go from there and start looking around the league and seeing what happens after the first half of the season takes place. That's where I'm at now. You know what I mean? I don't see any trades right now that's going to make the Knicks better and catapult them into being a playoff, a definite playoff team. I don't see that happening. Let's take this unit, this group of guys, see how well they work together, try to put the best lineups on the floor that fit, regardless of who has to take less minutes or whatever, or not play or be situational, whatever. Put the best units out there. See how they fit, and then start to make a decision as to how you need to continue to build the team. I think that's the best course of action right now. You know what I mean? Immediately after the Knicks didn't get Donovan Mitchell, you're seeing people like, well, we got to go, let's throw some offers out there for this guy, that guy. And to me, when you go after a player that is not on the trade market, you're asking to pay more money. Or more in assets, right? If you want to go get SGA, you got to go to OKC with a reason for them to part with him. So you can't come and say, hey, we'll give you, peas in a bucket for SGA. No, you got to make them say, oh, maybe we will make this trade. And he got 5 years left. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not a fan of approaching a team for a player unless you just know this is like you really, really want this guy bad. You're already a contender or right here, and you think this guy's going to get you over the top. But in the position that the Knicks are in, I'm not a fan of going and approaching a team because you're asking to pay more now because you got to entice that team to part with that player.
My question to you, Sim, would be, because I agree in the sense you can't go to a team with an offer and say, hey, would you take this for this guy? Because at that point, now all they got to do is say, no, add this, add that, and add this. You know what I mean?
Right.
But to make the phone call and say, hey, what would it take?
Mhm.
I think that's a different scenario.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because now you're giving them the onus of a starting point.
Okay.
And now you can negotiate backwards. You know what I mean?
Right.
You could say, hey, maybe what if we did this instead of that, or this instead of that? So I think, yeah, if you go to a team with an offer, now you're weakening your situation.
standpoint,
You know what I mean? It's a sign of weakness, and now they could get you for potentially more than they would have been willing to take in the beginning.
Right.
But if you just go with the question, pose the question, hey, what would it take for this guy? At that point, I think you're starting on fair ground.
Okay. I can agree with that. Definitely. I'm definitely with that. I can see that. Yeah, but I think right now I just stay where I'm at. You know, I'm not a fan of moving players just so somebody else can play. I'm a fan of, if you haven't beat this guy out, then maybe you ain't gonna beat this guy out. You know what I'm saying? Make me keep you on the floor. Make me have to play you. Be better than him. To me, I don't know. If the guy behind him ain't beating him out, I'm not just gonna be like, well, I'm gonna move him just so I can give this guy a chance. I'm not with that at all. I'm not with that. So I'd like to see just what this team is gonna look like. Josh, why do you say Evan Fournier though? Because I think the Knicks need shooters, right, on this team to make this team work. And Evan Fournier is one of the only shooters that the Knicks have, competent, consistent shooter. So why is Fournier one of the guys that you say you would move right now?
So I know you just went on, you just were talking about, you're not going to move a guy to give other people time, but I think it's just more than just that reason for Evan Fournier. First reason is what I mentioned in regards to quickly Grimes, but the second reason is you just took Grimes off the table in multiple trades. So obviously, if you believe in him that much, I think he should be starting, right? And it's not like Grimes isn't a capable shooter. That can't play defense or whatever. Grimes can shoot the basketball. Averages need to improve, obviously. But if that's what you were holding him out of the trades for, I see no better opportunity to have him put in the starting lineup. And the third thing is contract. I believe we can get something for Evan Fournier for his contract. I think you can send him into a contender. And I think we can get some assets back in that regard. So it's not just about making room for the other guys to play, but it's the other stuff that I mentioned as well.
Well, I would say. Oh no, go ahead, Tony.
The only problem I have with that is, again, if you go out right now and you say you try to move Fournier, you're not moving from a position of strength. Again, it's a position of weakness. Now you may not even get his true value for him because they feel like, oh, you trying to dump this guy. So I'm not in a rush to do that, in the simple sense that let Fournier, if you're gonna move him from a position of strength. Let the team say, hey, we need a shooter, to put us over the hump. You
don't think those teams exist out there? I think there's a lot of teams that can use shooters.
I'm not saying they don't exist, but to do it now as opposed to where they need somebody at the trade deadline. Like, I think his value is higher at the trade deadline than right now, because now it looks like a position of weakness. It looks like you're trying to get rid of this guy rather than the other team wanting this guy. You know what I mean? So that's my only reason why. Again, like to Sim's point, don't just make a move to make a move right now. You know what I mean? Make it so when the opportunity is at its best.
Yeah, I fully agree with Tony. I fully disagree with Josh. Of course. No, I I love Josh, man. I like the bear coming along too, brother. I like the bear. No, so I do agree with you, Tony, and I do agree with Sim. Right now, no. Keep the squad how it is. Because if you again, I really believe in this bench. And if you move Grimes to the starting five, to me, because you already got Brunson who can shoot. I'm gonna project Grimes can shoot. Then you got Evan
He shot
Fournier
38% from 3 last year. So
38%.
yeah.
Okay,
Grimes.
so right there,
Mhm.
you're starting 1 and 2 can shoot. That's beautiful. RJ, we're hoping that we can get. To me, I'm comfortable with RJ being
I think
37.
RJ was 35% last year, I think.
Even look, we're coming.
So
Look at this.
maybe he can get it up to 36, 37 or something.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with 37. I would love to get 38 from RJ. I think he can still do it. Then let's say if we could get Randall to 35, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with 35 with Randall.
Mm-hmm.
Then look at you have a starting five minus Mitch. And we know he's not going to do nothing offensively. We love you, Mitch. But you got starting five that can shoot, that can spread the floor, that we can get to running how we should be. And then right off the bench, you have Rose who's really a good shooter. Now he's become a really good shooter from the three now.
Yes.
Then you have Evan Fournier, which we already know that's almost automatic from him. Quickly, when he gets hot, we'll take it sporadic. And then you got Cam's sporadic too. So I can't even. Well, Cam's 35. I think
like
Cam's
35, 36 or something.
And then
what's Quickly's percentage?
He got to be 34.
Because I don't recall it being bad.
From 3?
Yeah.
I
don't remember what it is.
I want to say 34, 35.
I think we undervalue his his shooting because, sometimes.
So last year he was 34.6. He's 36.5 for his career so far.
But Sim, here's the beauty, right? You have your second unit projectedly could all shoot threes. With Hartenstein being a center. Right. And Obi, and I think Obi's been working on that corner. Listen, man, I'm really comfortable, and like Tony said, Evan Fournier's true value is going to be at the deadline. If God willing, also too, what if the Knicks are winning? Do you trade players? What if we're like in the hunt? What if we're right there in the 6th seed, 7th seed?
I think you only make the move if you think it's going to get you, if it benefits your team. And that's why, I value Evan Fournier. I understand what Josh is saying. I value Evan Fournier as a shooter. And I think for this team to work, because I still feel like you're trying to build this team. And I value Evan Fournier as a shooter. And I think it's something that the Knicks need. You need to have those guys. Even if Quentin Grimes ends up being the starter. And with the way that the Knicks are about him, seems like they protected him more.
I'm not going to lie, Sim. He said the way they value him, he better start.
They protected him more than they protected RJ.
Said he better start. I'm not gonna lie. If he don't start, I'm gonna look at Leo Rose crazy. Like, bro, you did all this for him not to start. He better start.
Yeah, they protected him more than they protected RJ. Crazy.
Oh man.
So, but even if Quentin Grimes is starting, I can see Evan Fournier being valuable off the bench. Now, if something came along that made sense, a guy that could still shoot and do things that Evan Fournier does, but plays more defense or whatever, then of course, you do what makes sense for the team.
And Sam, just to give you your flowers too. I remember when a lot of us were complaining about, because I was mad about the Evan Fournier contract. You would just wait. You would just like wait, hold on. But now look at the contract now. Now he's going to be expiring next year, right? Or this year, next year?
After next season. I think he has a team option. Try B. Ryan, thank you for the super chat. He said this front office is there yet as far as negotiating experience. We came in with no experience against the Danny Ainge, who has a ton of experience. I'm not sure if you're saying they aren't there or they are there. I feel like Leon Rose, even though he may not have as much experience negotiating trades, I think he's been so much part of those negotiations as an agent. He's probably comfortable. And then you got Brock Aller and you got Walt Perrin back there. Those guys have, especially Brock Aller, right? He's got a lot of experience, and especially working the cap, working assets, and things like that. Excuse me. But they definitely got some valuable experience in this one. You know, Louisiana Knicks says, salute guys. I think Leon overplayed his hand and dropped the ball on his trade. I'm sick of always not getting the deal done for star players. I do kind of agree that maybe he overplayed his hand a little bit, you know, feeling like, you know, nobody could offer what the Knicks could offer. But then the Jazz just said, well, we're not going to come back to you, you know, and then in the end, they refused to play the game, the Jazz. Janky Jimenez. Well, I appreciate you for commenting. Said we need to stop using abbreviations when talking about players. Let's just call them by their names. You know, you're talking about SGA, and he looked it up. But you know, some people sometimes you can't say their names.
You want us to say Shield Gilgeous Alexander every time we talk about him?
Yeah. Mr. Knicks 101 said, do you guys trust Leon Rose to attract a top 20 player or trade for one? I don't. Leon Rose is a fraud. I actually disagree. I think that he will eventually make a move. I do have some concerns about how conservative he in the front office is. But I think they will make a move. I do.
And I'm just gonna say, tune in on Monday, Knicks and Bruises, because we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
But you know what? But Sam, but things like that, see, that bothers me because if he would have, if Danny Ainge would have accepted that offer in June, I guarantee you, we would have came on this show and you would have had your phone blowing up. Yo, what did Leon Rose do? He don't know what he doing. Like, he gave up everybody for Don. You would have had that the whole time if he would have pulled that, if he would have did that first deal. So come on, guys. I mean,
probably it would have depended on what he did next. I mean, people initially, I agree, people would have bugged out, but then what happens next? Right?
Got to get calm.
Who does he get to replace? If he would have did that trade, who replaces Mitchell Robinson? Who replaces right? Who? Okay. Who replaces Obi Toppin?
Melo.
Oh, God.
It would have been Melo, right?
Hey, Melo can still come here if he wants.
And play where?
Yeah, he don't got no minutes.
Log
Right
jam.
Play where? You know, that it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. It only made sense if either one of Randall or Obi was traded. That's the only time it's going to make sense for Melo to come to this team. It's the only time.
I can't wait for that day. Sim going to do an emergency pod. The Knicks have signed Carmelo.
I want Melo back. No lies about it. Just because he's my favorite player in the league. But it don't make sense right now.
They're going to have to make a remix to He's Coming Home. He's Coming Back Home.
Hey, man. And maybe in a couple of years we'll get his son, because his son nice.
Yeah. Julian Benjamin said, I love that Leon stayed pat. We would have gutted our roster for a very good player, but would our ceiling have been with him and Brunson? And what would our ceiling have been with him and Brunson and Randall? Who knows what the ceiling would have been? Who knows? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Donovan Mitchell's not a Knick.
Yay.
And we are the New York Knicks are looking forward to moving into the season. And I still think they just stay with who they have, see how the team works, starts to fit together, and then make a decision from there. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. Because I will say, I think if Donovan Mitchell had been traded to the Knicks, there probably would have been some follow-up moves to try to adjust the roster. And so it doesn't feel as clunky like people were saying. I think there probably would have been some follow-up moves. Now, I think they just rock with what they got and figure it out.
Josh must have just saw the comment, too.
Huh? Oh, I didn't see
CP artist. Look at CP artist, man. Salute to him.
Oh. And by the way,
you just got here, CP.
By the way, Colin Sexton, I think, signed a 4-year, $72 million deal.
Yeah, I'm
all guaranteed money.
I'm shocked he actually got that, Sim. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep. So he signed it with the Cavs. So it was a sign and trade.
Yep.
Yep. 4 years, $72 million.
Oh, definitely sucked.
But again, he wasn't going to get that in open market, in my opinion. I totally agree with you Isaiah, on that. But I think again, and this is why I keep going back to the players not mattering as much as the picks, because I feel like they paid him that money, that per season number, to try to make the money work.
Yeah, they had to.
Yeah.
Right,
Absolutely. Make the money work. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't think it's about Colin Sexton himself as a player. And even though he's a good player, coming off the ACL injury, Lauri Markkanen, a really good player. And Agbaji, I think he's going to be a really good player in the league. I think that matters, but not as much as the quality of the draft pick. That's been my whole point the whole entire time.
Yeah. I like that kid Agbaji. I do.
See, the problem I think the problem with the Cavs, man, is going to be their perimeter defense and the shooting for them.
They still got whatchamacallit from Auburn. What's his face?
The young boy. The young boy. The defensive
we could have drafted him. Yeah.
Oh, Okoro?
Yeah.
No, but he's not a good shooter though. He's a great defender. He's not a good shooter.
You say you were worried about the defense though. I'm saying they got him.
No, but that's fine. But
I'm not worried about anything with the Cavs.
That's right. That's right.
I don't care.
Talk to him, son.
I don't care. You know what I mean?
Hey, son, can I get a favor?
And I'm just gonna say one thing, real quick. Now we can champion Brunson on his performance against Mitchell in the playoff. right? Like everybody was forgetting and negating that whole conversation once Mitchell, became available.
Yeah.
But let's not act like let's not forget he got cooked.
Yeah.
He got cooked.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, before we get out of here, two things. Number one, can you wish Isaiah a happy birthday?
Oh,
all right, because he was about to say, "Can I say one thing?" And he was going to ask for birthday wishes. So go ahead.
Sim knows me so well.
Yeah. So go ahead and wish him a happy birthday.
Josh, can you sing me happy birthday?
Hey, happy birthday, Isaiah. I would ask for a piece of cake, but I know it's all gone.
Yeah, he was eating that when we came on the show.
11 o'clock in the morning.
Right. 11 in the morning.
No, man. No, man, I just want to say, man, I appreciate y'all, man, so much. Y'all my extended family. Josh, you're like the brother I always hate, but I love still. Tony, you my big brother, man. And Sim, you know how I feel about you, Sim, man. Also, shout out to Guillermo. He said happy birthday to me too. That nerd.
Somebody say happy birthday, and you call him a nerd.
Yeah, hey, he knows I love him. But I appreciate everybody in the chats and everything. So I thank and Sim, I'm gonna need those 3 tickets. I'm gonna need those 3 tickets, man. Cause y'all bully me to bring it. Y'all bully me to bring the girl. So I was like,
she bullied you. She bullied you.
Yo, Sim, you know what's funny, man? So I was like, oh yeah, my big brother, he throwing a Knicks thing. You want to come? She's like, sure. I'm like, oh shit. I was like, okay. She want me to.
She probably watching now, right?
Right. Yeah. See crap. That? Oh, there you go. Boom. Ooh, you're in trouble. 2 tickets, ladies and gentlemen. He only needs 2 tickets. He only needs 2. Julian Benjamin, thank you for the super chat. He said, and then all this slander with RJ. He has done nothing but get better and better every year. Plays defense and is a fan favorite. I believe in Broadway Barrett. That contract he signed is very good. It is a very good contract.
It is.
It's a very, very good contract that the Knicks signed for RJ Barrett.
I was going to leave it alone, but I wanted to ask the question earlier. But being that this comment was just highlighted, and the consensus in the chat, over the past couple of months, Josh, you've been a big part of it, is, hey, we got to play RJ Barrett. We got to play RJ Barrett. And I'm sure, I can almost guarantee before you answer me that you did not expect the contract to be this value. You thought it would be a higher contract. So that being said, does this open up the idea of re-signing Cam to a valued contract? Because that's what I was saying all along. A lot of people were like, oh, we got to pay Cam. But if this is what RJ got, I think we could get a valued contract for Cam and lock him up long term potentially. And there's no rush to do it. We you know what I mean. But what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Tony, I think you're correct about Cam, but I think the big difference between Cam and RJ is RJ's played for the last 3 years. We've seen him in the Knicks uniform. Yeah. He's been a starter for the last 3 years. Cam Reddish, on the other hand, I understand we acquired him via trade, but he hasn't been on the floor. He hasn't been on the floor. And at the time, in the times where Tibbs did put him on the floor, he didn't really perform that well. So I do think, it's going to come down to this season and seeing what we have in Cam Reddish. I think the front office seeing what they have in Cam Reddish. And I do think that animosity or whatever, that potential animosity from the Berman article or whatever, we look and break that down multiple different ways. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, we got to see how Cam performs. And if he performs, perhaps he's going to get signed to a value contract. And, but I still think it's more likely than not he'll be in the signing trade rather than him signing with us long term because of the roster construction and things of that nature.
Oh, Lord, I agree with you, Josh. Jesus Christ. No, I do agree with you, Josh. Again, with and thank you everybody for the birthday wish. I appreciate that. I do agree with you. The thing with Cam is that you just, to me, the Knicks can't pay Cam because we just don't know. I would love for Cam to be here. He's 6'8". I think he plays really good sneaky defense, but it's just the consistency that we need to see from him. And I don't know if we can pay him and bank on that. I just don't know with Cam. Because right now, I said it before, I think people are more in love with Cam's potential than what Cam is currently right now. And that's a big issue for me. And that's an issue with a lot of some young players, but especially with Cam, is that people are waiting for Cam to pop. We're still waiting for, if Cam can get this, he'll be that player that we expect him to be. I don't know.
You think Cam has to reach his ceiling to get paid? To get extended?
No.
Because I don't. You know what I mean? When I say a value contract, like honestly, 4 years 50, 4 years 60, I think that's more than reasonable for him, based off of I'm not gonna say
right now.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't think he's worth that.
No. I think he's worth that the contract itself, but I'm not going to sign him to a long-term contract. He can't stay healthy. He can't stay on the floor.
He does, and that's the thing too. I do agree with Josh. He can't stay healthy. He's not consistent. And we all know the situation he had with Lloyd Pierce in Atlanta and how it wasn't the best for him. But we also you gotta how can I say this? But you have to kind of work around that a little bit as a young player, and it's tough. But it's like with Cam, if you paid him that and he doesn't pop, now it's a bad contract. Now it's like what can we do? Because again, listen, I'm gonna say it right now, if Cam could give me, he'll be coming off the bench most likely, give me 11 points, 12 points on good efficiency with great defense, then we could talk about getting a contract extension. Then we could talk about that 4 years, $60 million. If he could give me a consistent 12 points on at least 44 to 48% shooting and great defense, then we're talking about a play that, okay, yes, I can deal with that.
You can see him a part of the future.
I can see him part of the future if he give me that 12 points on a good efficiency. Yes, please. He's 6'8". We need that. We don't have. In all respect, we don't have a lot of tall players, which sounds crazy. We don't have a lot of tall players.
You know what's funny though? If there is a move to be done before training camp, I could see Cam going to the Lakers somehow, some way. Even if the Knicks aren't bringing back Russell Westbrook and he's being shipped someplace else, but there's maybe a 3-team trade and Cam ends up going to the Lakers, maybe the Knicks bring back draft picks or something like that. I don't know.
But see, the thing, Sim, I think what's been very tough for the Lakers, which I'll give Jenny Buss credit for this. She's not willing to give up 27 and 29. She's almost made it clear that they're not trying to give up those draft picks.
I wouldn't either. Not for
and
Cam.
I mentioned those numbers.
And not to move Westbrook.
Oh, my bad.
No, my bad. I was saying I wouldn't give it up. I wouldn't give up those picks for Cam, and I wouldn't give up those picks to move Westbrook. Not when his contract will expire next year. I could see if he had 4 years left, then maybe you might think about moving his pick. But if his contract expires at the end of this season, I'm not giving up a pick to move Westbrook. when it doesn't bring me any financial incentive back.
Man, man, I'm not gonna lie.
I brought up those numbers in particular because they were a little less than what Mitchell Robinson got on his extension, and I think the injury history or whatever you want to injury proneness is comparable,
right?
And then obviously he's only been with us half a season, but I'm looking at his entire 4 years, including Atlanta, and that's why I put those numbers up.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at the Mitchell Robinson contract, so I think that would be a steal.
To your credit, though, Mitchell Robinson played almost a full season, earned his money. He earned that contract.
Yeah.
He earned it. So that's what I'm saying. I want Cam to do. Earn the contract.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because I do think Cam wants to be here because I mean I know we all seen the controversy with him and Berman. We've seen that. Shout out to Mr. Berman. But I think Cam wants to be here because I mean if he didn't want to be, I think he wouldn't have responded the way he did about the whole allegations. Or maybe he doesn't want to be here, but some got that. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't. Just because he responded doesn't mean that he doesn't feel a certain way.
No, right. Of course. But listen, man. Hey, to be fair to Cam, this is all on you. You gotta play, man.
Yeah, you
gotta play.
That's it.
Like
that's it.
if you play, you'll get paid. We wouldn't hear none of these rumors, man. But you gotta stay healthy. I mean, I get it. I know the injury that he had, it wasn't his fault. He was actually trying to get, I think, the rebound or something like that.
Chase down block.
I'm not even mad about that. He chased down block. It just.
I mean, I thought Cam was playing well.
I thought he was too.
I thought he was playing well before he got injured. But all that being said, I actually think LA would be a good spot for Cam, right? His agent is, he's with Clutch.
Oh, he's with Rich Paul. Okay.
You got LeBron out there that can maybe, after seeing just some things, I question his work ethic a little bit. Maybe being out there under the tutelage of LeBron would help him. And maybe that's why the Lakers are interested, but Clutch, Rich Paul and Clutch is like, this would be a good spot for Cam. We can get the best out of Cam if he's there.
But now what do the Lakers give up for Cam?
I don't know.
They honestly have.
I'm sure there could be ways.
Yeah, there's probably a way, but to me they have nothing. That if I'm a Knicks, if I'm Leon Rose, there's nothing besides Patrick Beverly on that team that I would want from them.
It'll have to be one of those draft picks. That's what I'm looking at. 27, 29.
But Jeannie Buss not giving that up. She'll be stupid to give up 27 or 29. She'll be stupid.
Unless they really like him.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the LeBron factor plays a big role in this. I know they just signed him to a couple-year extension or whatever, but you talking about LeBron still playing some of his best basketball in his career. I think they want to try to see if they can win some more titles while they still got LeBron. So I think that's the risk that they'll probably take, or that they would have to take in order to make that happen. So we'll see.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen. Big shout out to 007 Angelo. Say, glad the drama is over. Time to see what we have. And I think that's exactly what the Knicks are going to do. But listen, I know that Donovan Mitchell isn't going to be in a Knicks uniform on opening night, but don't let that stop you from getting tickets to the opening night game, ladies and gentlemen. All right? You can get your home opener tickets right now. Join NBK as we do a live podcast before the game, live podcast after the game. We'll have, a perk to either shoot free throws on the court, take a picture on the court, check out the pregame shoot around, and a lot more. Prizes, giveaways, all that stuff. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you join us. People might be asking for refunds now that you said that, man. Come on. Make sure that you join us. All right, it's $165 until September the 19th, and then $175 after September the 19th. So make sure you get them right now, ladies and gentlemen. There's a link in the description of the video. There's also a link. I'm going to pin it to the top of the YouTube chat. All right, so that you can go ahead and get those tickets now before they're sold out. and they've been moving. So you might want to go ahead and get those tickets now. They're still available, but they're dwindling. Go ahead, Tone.
I just wanted to shout out Nick of Time Show in the chat and extend invitation to come on my podcast one day. And keep doing your thing, brother.
Yeah,
Salute Jay Ellis.
They be killing it
Jay
over
Ellis.
there, man. Jay Ellis and them guys, they be getting it in. You know, Raw Hebrew. You know, that's my guy. That's my guy. But they be getting it over there. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed, folks. Any last words before we? Make sure you go to Knicks and Bruises and get Tony to that 1,000th subscriber.
Come on,
folks.
y'all. Get them 1,000s. Come on, y'all.
Any last words before we get out of here?
I mean, you just said it, man. I appreciate you. I got under 40 to go to hit that 1,000. And one more time, got the giveaway, the autographed John Starks T-shirt. You know, once I hit that, that's gonna be my first order of action to pick a random subscriber and figure out how to get them that autographed John Starks T-shirt. Sim, appreciate you for sure. Josh, pleasure. Isaiah, Big Bubba, love the theme song. I know we'll get that soon. And Yo Blackest Time.
Josh?
Yes, Sam, always a pleasure being on. I'm glad this fiasco, this Donovan Mitchell fiasco is finally over and we can start focusing on the upcoming season. And with that being said, please get the tickets. Like Sim said, get the tickets for opening night against Detroit at Madison Square Garden. I will be there. I will be there this time. It's a guarantee. So just letting everybody know that I definitely will be there. I already got it approved and everything like that. So that should be a good to go. And just letting everybody, make sure everyone knows, I will be doing a controversy coming up next week. It's going to be my beginning of this upcoming season controversy, and I'm going to break down my predictions for the season. So if you want to, see that, stay tuned. And
All right.
Yeah, go Knicks.
All right. 007 Angelo said 2 seasons in Cleveland and Spider would demand a trade.
Yes, he will. He'll be a Knick. Don't you worry.
We will see. We will see.
Man.
Go ahead, Big Bubba. You're the only one with a theme song, so you should be proud of that.
Oh man. Anyways, man, I'm shocked because I didn't know Josh was coming. So this is gonna be great. So this is good. Oh man, I'm super excited now. So listen, everybody, man. Please, first of all, go subscribe to Tony Crow's channel, Knicks and Bruises. Get him to 1,000 so he can get that jersey, so I can get the jersey because he's just gonna slide it off to me. No, man, I'm super excited for this game, man. I'm super excited to go. I love when we all meet up and everything. Sam, you already know. Tony, you already know. Bring Mama Crow. And then Jaws, I can't wait to finally meet you, man. This is gonna be great. Oh man, it's gonna be. And Gilmo's gonna be there. Woo!
Gmo's gonna be there. Eru's gonna be there.
That post game podcast is gonna be lit, and the pregame podcast is gonna be lit.
Listen,
we might have to start a little early.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
Gmo's gonna be there, right? Gmo's gonna be there. Eru's
don't forget
Ron from Still Knicks fans is gonna be there.
Who's Mark gonna be there in the second half?
Be there.
The
Queen's gonna be there. Tony.
All we need is Freezy. I think Freezy might be the only missing guy, and obviously International Andy. Next year we're gonna do a GoFundMe, get him here for opening night next year. You know what I mean? We're gonna start it early.
If we start a GoFundMe for 80 to come back to America, I'm gonna be crying. No, man, but no, I'm super excited, man. My pops is gonna be there too. My dad's gonna be there. So and yes, the girl, she's gonna be there too. So everybody shut up. But no, man, I can't wait. It's gonna be a fun time, man. Please go get these tickets, man, so everybody can bully me about the girl I'm bringing. Man, it's gonna be lit, man. I can't wait, man. I'm excited.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be real fun. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. Appreciate your time, and I'll see you probably Monday. I know Monday is gonna be a packed day. Queens Court is back. It's gonna be a packed day on Monday, but I'll see you on Monday, ladies and gentlemen.
Labor Day, baby.
Labor Day with MBK.
Oh, I like that. Labor Day with MBK.
MBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's Number one show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.